Hey class, it's Miss Schadrie. I am just doing a quick intro kind of explainer video about your Gizmo. If you don't need it, by all means, feel free to skip it. If you find that it helps, kind of watch through and I'll explain what you're going to see on the Gizmo screen and where you'll find instructions in your assignment. So if we start on your lab itself, that's located on Google Classroom. It's kind of laid out. I've put in blue where you'll put answers to things just to make it easier for me to find them, mostly when I'm grading, or Miss Strupp if you're in her class. But the nice thing about this lab activity is that it does a really good job of explaining to you exactly what you need to do. You just have to kind of read through all of those directions. So it's going to start with a little bit of prior knowledge check, little warm up to try and use the Gizmo itself. And then as you go through different activities, give you different directions on what things you should change. Okay, so let's look at how we actually do that. If I go back to my Explore Learning, I'm logged into my animal science class. I would click launch on the activity. This should be the only one you have assigned to you. Okay, and it's going to take me to this page. There's a lot of things going on this page, all of which you're going to interact with at some point throughout the course of the lab. So let's start with the pane on the left. Okay, there are two main things here that are important. First of all, this is the simulation. So this is what you're going to actually see happening as we examine the spread of different kinds of diseases. This is a lab we would have done in class together. We would have actually like each been a person. We would have spread some fluid and we had little cups. And we would do a test at the end to see who had gotten whatever the illness was. And then we'd actually trace back to our patient zero. Obviously, we can't do that right now. So this lab kind of gives us some of that idea without being able to be together. So this is just going to kind of show you what's happening over time. We'll come back to this in a second. If we go to the tab, this lets us optimize and change to look at different factors. So we can change the amount of people in the room. You'll do that a couple of times throughout the activity, anywhere from 5 to 35 people. We can change which disease is active at the time. You could have all three of them. You could just have one. And then you'll also be able to change what the probability of transmission is for each disease. It starts out in the middle, okay, kind of medium transmissible. You can also make it lower, higher, anything in between. And again, that's something that you will do throughout the course of the activity. If we look real quick on the right on the description tab, it'll actually give you a summary of what diseases are active and what like factors are active right now. So right now we just have person-to-person transmission, and it tells us the number of infected people based on that disease. You have to start with one for person-to-person because you have to have somebody who's sick in order to pass it on. Okay, so if I go back to my simulation, this will show me my one person who got sick. I have some additional controls down at the bottom. I have a start control, which is going to run the simulation. There's a pause that I can use once the simulation is running, and then there's a reset button. There's also a little spot on the bottom that tells me how many hours have elapsed within the simulation, tell me how much time has passed. Again, if we look on the right side, we've also got a key of what is the status of each person. So we can see our little purple dude is sick from a disease that is transmissible person to person. So now if I start my simulation, okay, folks are going around doing their thing in their room. We can see things kind of start to change over time. Okay. Looking at the right side, there's a couple of different ways that you're going to see data displayed besides just the picture in the simulation. There's a table. That table is going to tell you how much time has elapsed. Okay, so in this case, we went through, if I scroll down, I can get to the bottom of the last time it took a note was 11.7 hours because it's the last time somebody got sick. That's when it updates, is when somebody gets ill or when another person gets the disease. So I can look at how many people it is. Again, right now I only have one type of illness activated, but we could certainly change that. There's a bar chart, which is going to give you a snapshot in time. What's the ratio of healthy people to people with whatever kind of health issue? And then there is the graph option, which shows you how many people got infected over time. Obviously, if we were in class together, we would be talking about this in terms of animals. But suffice to say that these concepts are exactly the same, just not a lot of simulations out there to do animals with. But it's the same concept. As we talked about in our notes, animals can get a lot of the same types of health problems that people can, and in some cases, the same exact health issues. Things that we know really commonly, like rabies or ringworm, are all examples of things that are transmissible between us. So, this just gives you a quick overview of what your gizmo is going to be like. You've got a couple days worth of class time to work through that to kind of get familiar. Feel free to play around if you want with tools, just to have a little fun until you're ready to hit up your lab, or after you're done with your lab if you want. Again, on the lab itself, exactly what you need to do, what settings you need to put together are all listed in the lab. So it does a really nice job of going through step by step, which is why we're going to use it to simulate what we would have done in the classroom so that we can still get that learning experience and kind of look at some of those factors. Okay? If you have any questions, please let myself or Miss Strupp know. Hope you guys are well. Miss you all. Take care and talk to you later.